Welcome everyone. If you were on our last session, long time no see. Our last session was on play, so if you missed it, make sure that you catch the recording. But second day of the Brandwise Evolved Conference. Thank you for being here. First thing, housekeeping, just want to make sure you guys can hear us and see the screen. If you can, please type something in the questions window, maybe where you're joining from. I've probably asked you to do this a bunch of times if you're used to being on these webinars, but we just want to make sure that you see the screen and you can hear. Thank you, Jennifer. Maryland, Minnesota, New York, Atlanta, sunny Tampa, Ohio, well heard. Thanks, Lyndon. Maryland, Toronto, Dallas. Hey, Cindy, you're right there with Ari down there in Dallas. Kate, Colorado. It is a beautiful day here, isn't it? We're all of us on the call here are in Colorado working from home. We had a pretty heavy snowstorm last week. It's all melting now, so bummer for me, happy for everyone else in Colorado. Hey, Randy again from Vegas. So glad you're here. You'll notice that you are muted on this session. So if you have any questions throughout, you can enter those in the questions pane. We have some folks on the back end here that will answer those questions for you. You will also receive a recording follow-up email after this session so that you can review the recording or share the recording with anyone that may have missed it. More folks, Orange County, California, Connecticut. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. I've got a couple of dogs in the background. They're going to help me out today. If you hear them drinking water or barking at the mailman, my apologies. But Nova and Nicholas hanging out behind me, Brandwise crowd today. All right, how many folks have we got on here?
We'll probably go another minute or so, Iris, and then we'll jump in.
Another minute, fair enough.
Yeah, we do.
Lisa, where are you exactly in Colorado?
I am in Evergreen, Colorado.
My dream place to live. How nice for you.
Yeah, we still have a lot of snow. It's going to take a little while for ours to probably melt. So always colder and snowier up here, but we're closer to the ski areas, which my family appreciates, so we enjoy it.
Definitely. Callie, you've got your kids in the background probably too.
I think they're all napping now, so I don't think they're going to be joining me today, but they are here.
Perfect. Well, I guess we can get jumping in, get rolling here. Hang on 1 second, let me get my screens adjusted appropriately. All right.
Show your screen now, Todd.
All right, thank you. I'm going to move. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to put it right here. Probably shared the wrong screen, so hang on a second. Yep, wrong screen. All right, this should be the right screen. What? Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. This is our third session of the 2020 virtual conference, the Evolved Conference today. We had a great first session yesterday and a ton of stuff to talk about with regards to Play for iPad, as Iris mentioned just before this one. So make sure you listen to the recording on that if you weren't available to be on it, or if you were, you can listen to it again. So we're going to go through a lot. We've got a lot to cover here. This is really primarily about Reach 2.0, some of the new tools, what's coming down the pike, what we've got out there ready to go, and some of that. So I think it's going to be a really exciting session, and we will jump right in. All right. So meeting who we have around the table. So Lisa Rickard in the bottom, well, it's bottom left of mine, could be anywhere on your screen, is our 2.0 product owner. So if you were on yesterday, we explained a little bit about Lisa's role is to handle the prioritization from all of the stakeholders, which includes Jeanette and myself and everybody else on the call and all of you guys, as it relates to what our 2.0 team is developing, and then making sure they're doing their jobs and getting their stuff done. So she has a minor role at Brandwise. Iris, who for me is on the bottom right, is our implementation and training specialist and has done tons of webinars this year, so I'm sure that you all know her very well. She helps out on the training side, on all the webinars, and a bunch of other stuff. And then Callie Isley Tracy is our marketing manager and lead brand ambassador. So she has been responsible for putting all of these webinars together this year, all the marketing, a lot of the insiders, done a bunch of webinars for you guys as well. So I'm sure you're familiar with all of with everything that Callie's been doing. So we're all going to have a bit to do with today's presentation. I'm going to be more of the kind of driving, moderating, and these guys are going to be doing most of the heavy lift, I think. And I will try to say things, and Lisa will tell me to shut up. So that's pretty much how most of this will go. All right, so
No
quickly
different than
on the
any other
agenda, this was the introduction and kickoff, me saying something, Lisa laughing, but knowing that it's true. The value of the sales rep and then how it relates to B2B, which is going to be something really important that we're going to start off with. A little bit of reach usage. So if you were on the call yesterday, we went into that a little bit. I'm just going to talk about that a little bit for this year. How to get started with Reach 2.0 is what Iris is going to dive into. It's going to be a lot easier than you think it is. Where we're headed next, which is where Lisa's going to jump in on the current roadmap. What's coming next? Marketing capabilities, which Callie's going to get into, which is pretty exciting. That's going to cover a couple of different aspects with what's going on right now with our current Kentico platform and Google Analytics. And then finally, closing and question. So we're going to go through it that way. All right, so let's jump right in. So one of the things that we talked about with Reach since day one, the new Reach, is that it's beautiful on any device. So for those of you that are using our existing product, while it's generating a ton of orders and it works really well, it doesn't work really well across devices. So whether you're on a big PC monitor, or you're on a laptop, or you're on an iPad, or you're on a mobile phone, it works perfectly across all those devices. So whether you're on the gallery, or you're in the cart, or you're adding items, or any of that stuff, that's the way it's been designed. Oops, that's what happens when you hit the roll on your mouse. It moves everything backwards. Okay, so sales rep interactive order flow. So I tried to make this simple but visual to kind of give you an idea of the difference between what Brandwise Reach provides, even in the existing Reach, as well as 2.0. So you've got retailers, a whole bunch of them out there that are getting their passport. As we mentioned yesterday, we've got nearly 60,000 of them already that have their passport, and they're connecting to your Reach sites. There's two things that can happen from your Reach site to get orders taken care of. One is from Reach, orders are delivered without any rep interaction, potentially, through Stream directly to a supplier. So a retailer goes on the site, they look at stuff, they place an order, and it goes through the system and it goes straight to the supplier, no rep interaction. The second and more preferable method is that orders are delivered to the territory rep. So Reach handles all of that. It knows that Iris is the rep for this retailer in this particular area, and Lisa is the rep for this one, and it sends the orders directly to them as hold for confirmation orders. So that gives the rep the ability to work with the retailer to discuss the order. You know what, we should add a few more of these, or we should take this off because it's kind of saturated in your area, or this isn't going to really sell in your area versus that one. So we want that rep to work with them. Then the rep works with that, confirms the order in play, which then sends it to Stream, and from there goes to the supplier. So the analytics that we've looked at in looking at Brandwise data compared to other sites that don't have rep interaction, which are a lot of the big sites that have come out in the last 12 to 18 months that we all know about, whether it's Fairs is the big elephant in the room, and others that don't have this automatic transparency to a rep. So the statistics that we've compiled in the last 3 years in looking at sales in the Brandwise ecosystem versus others prove out that orders that have a sales rep involved in the order, even if it's a web order, are 50% or greater, 50% or more larger than orders that go directly from Reach to Stream to a supplier, because the retailer counts on the sales reps, as we all know, to help them understand what their order should be, and typically those orders increase. So that's one big benefit of using that lower Stream, or that lower method. I shouldn't use the word Stream in that. Further, what we've determined very distinctly in looking at those 3 years is that over that 3-year period, the average retailer that works with a rep in our ecosystem reorders more than 70% of the time, year over year or season over season. Whereas people that go to the website directly, retailers that do that and make that order, those reorders are less than 30%. A lot of it's one and done. They don't have a rep helping them out. They're kind of floating around looking at different things. So the rep interaction and how it relates to our reach products are huge, and they come out in this statistic. So we wanted to kind of go over that to set everything up as we're going through the rest. Finally, we showed this yesterday, but just to show again, what we're looking at here are just reach sales. So we have one Reach 2.0 site up, Collective Home, and we've got others that are waiting to go live or getting ready to go live. So this is really all generated with the existing reach sites. But in 2019, that's the blue line. So, you know, we had some increase, but it was pretty well flat. And this is, you know, the percentage of online orders as a percentage of total overall sales. So we were less than 1.5%. And if you're looking at this thinking, not paying attention, think this is the COVID chart and we're almost at 5, it has nothing to do with that. In 2020, as you can see, that's the orange line. In April, May, June, we had a pretty decent uptick, and then significantly through July, August, September, we continue to have a big upswing. What we're seeing is more and more of that hybrid interaction between sales reps working with retailers, as we showed in the play, where we're getting huge numbers of play orders. We're almost flat last year on the road compared to what we were year over year, but a significant incline in reach orders. So it's becoming more and more and more important in our industry, and we're seeing that even through what we're looking at in the last few months. All right, so just a few preliminary things as we get into the next bit. So this next bit is going to be Iris, and it's about what's really entailed in the Reach 2.0 setup. Iris, over to you.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
So first step, contact us, whether that's through support@brandwise.com, info@brandwise.com, emailing, you know, I know a lot of you are used to emailing Callie directly, but getting in touch with us, just letting us know you want to schedule a session one-on-one. We'll let you know which suppliers are already on Reach 2.0 so that we can come up with a plan to get those suppliers who are not on Reach 2.0, get them engaged. And then the next bit, pretty much the easiest bit of the whole thing, all you need to do is approve a website link. And that's all it takes for us to build your site. That link is going to be shop, and then whatever you'd like to put next to that, .bwweb.net.
And if I may just make one comment, Iris, on that, sorry. If you have, let's say that you set up your shop, yourcompany.bwweb.net, but you have a yourcompany.com, you'll be able to redirect your yourcompany.com if you're going to use our internal site. Otherwise, the Shop Now button will take you to this. So it's not that your retailers are going to have to type this in. It's just this is how we can host it within our system. So that's where the URL comes from. So
Gotcha. Thanks.
perfect. Okay.
And then probably the most exciting part of it, in my opinion, probably Callie's opinion as well, is hosting a webinar that's specific to your company. So we gather all of your suppliers, try to get them all on one or two calls, and show them how to set up a Brandwise passport, how to upload their product file in transit, how to upload images and content management, as well as retrieve orders and stream. A big part of that is making sure they actually understand what that means. What the heck is a passport? You know, what's transit? So that's what those are for. And then further to that, if they want some additional help outside of those webinars, we can schedule one-on-one. So that's the next bullet here on this presentation. So they can literally just click a link to schedule some time with someone's calendar. You know, 15, 30, maybe we need a full hour. But we can schedule some time with a Brandwise expert, whether that's me or Callie or someone in implementations or support, to make sure you know how to use the tools that we're asking, or that they know how to use the tools that we're asking them to use. And then finally, launch your site. We're going to provide you with all the messaging you need to make sure your retailers know that you've got this big, beautiful site available for them to go start shopping on. So with that, let me start sharing my screen here. Want to give a huge shout out to Susan and Tanaya Thowen over at Collective Home. As Todd mentioned earlier, they are our first agency to go live with Reach 2.0. So you should be seeing that now on my screen. This is their site. You can see what I first get to here is a page of lifestyle images for all of the brands that I can shop from. I also have a list of those brands on the left side. So I can either click on a brand, I can also collapse my brand list if all I want to see are these lifestyle images. I can click on a brand to go start looking at product for that brand, or something that a retailer for Collective Home was really excited about is being able to just plug in a keyword right here in products and find something across all brands. So, you know, we have Bovi and Graziosa, Herbario Toscano, so forth, all of these suppliers. So this retailer went in, typed in orchid, searched across all brands, and found anything that contained orchid in the name so that she could go ahead and add those to her cart. So for example, here's an item from the Ivy Guild. I can just quickly add that to my cart. Right over here to the left, I've got a product from Mariposa. So two different suppliers here, but maybe I like both of those products because I've performed a search and they exist in both brands. So it's really easy for me to quickly add items to my cart. Just click on that Add to Cart button. And then I'll show you as I go to the checkout process how it's going to split out those brands so I can finish those orders all at once. One thing I forgot to mention, as Todd said earlier, this is beautiful across all devices. So right now I'm on my computer, but if I make the size of this window smaller, this is about the size of a mobile phone here. So you can imagine at the top, I've got that search bar that I showed you earlier. I have all of my products that are here. I can change brands if I'd like to, just by expanding that and going up into whatever brand I want. So it looks really great. I had a lot of fun testing this on my mobile phone and my iPad and my PC because it was all really nice and responsive in that way. You can also increase image sizing. So these icons in the upper right, currently this is 4 across. I can make it 3 across if I want to see these big, beautiful images a little bit larger. If I go into a brand, so for example, the Ivy Guild on the left side, I'm going to see all of their beautiful wreaths here. I think Susan, if you're on the phone, and Tanaya, when I showed your reps this page, they were super excited. I heard the oohs and ahs. That gets me in the fall and Christmas spirit as well here. So you can see it's beautifully image driven, large images. Again, very easy to add items to my cart. There is a brand profile as well at the top. So if I click on Show Brand Profile, I'll see the lifestyle image associated with that brand, and then some information about that brand. We'll talk about that here in a moment in terms of what's to come. But everything I'm showing you right now is features that are currently available. So I can show or hide that brand profile. Now, if I'm ready to check out, I can go review everything that I've added to my cart by clicking Cart at the top. And you can see I have multiple orders here. I've added items from the Ivy Guild. Earlier, I added items from Hester & Cook and Primitive Artisan, just because I love to shop on this site, so much fun. And then Mariposa. So I can add items from all of these different brands, and then it's here on one page for me to finish each one separately. You can see that the Ivy Guild here, I have met the minimum amount required for that order, which is $150. My value, my net total now is $523, so it's green. I've met that minimum. But for primitive example, for example, if I see that I've got $30 on my order for Primitive Artisan, I haven't met that minimum of 100 yet. Well, if I click on that order, right below that, easy place to just click on it, I can just continue shopping right from there. So, okay, I need to get more Primitive Artisan products on my order. Just gonna jump right over there. And again, just click Add to Cart. And I can increase my quantities, just like with any modern website. I don't know if I've met the minimum there, probably not. So let's go back to cart. Yes, I met it. So now I'm at that $130 amount, green to indicate I've met that minimum. So again, I can just click on this order to expand it, see everything that's on that order. I can make changes to quantities if I want to. On the right side are all the basic kind of order header fields that I need to fill out before I can submit this order. Things like my shipping address, I'll choose that at the time of checkout. My ship date, the cancel date if it needs to be there, a shipping method, payment terms, the ability to add a credit card. If I want a unique PO number, something that's specific to me, I can enter that here. Otherwise, it's auto-generated. And then some notes as well. So if I go through the creating an order process and submitting it, at this point, this order is going to go to my territory rep for review. So they're going to hop on their iPad or their PC, whatever, however they use Play in their system. They're going to review this order. Maybe they're going to suggest more items are added to that order. Again, the rep is really the expert, right? We want that interaction to still occur. So that's why in those cases, like Todd mentioned earlier, those orders go to your reps for review. And then they're sent off to, for example, Primitive Artisan for processing. Order history is another feature here that's available at the top. So if I click order history, by default, this is just going to show me orders in the last 7 days. So if I don't have any orders in the last 7 days, it's really easy just to click the ship date here, maybe bump it back a number of days, and then click search. And you'll see the order history for that date range. So I took this back 90 days. I can see my orders by brand, order date, ship date, PO number, order total. I can click view next to an order so that in case I want to see the line items that are on that specific order. You'll also see, so there's that order there with the item. There's also some filters across the top here, which is really great. So you can use these, for example, if I just want to see orders for a certain brand. That's how I can use these header filters at the top. And then finally, one of my favorite pieces of favorite functionality that's been implemented recently, common question we get in support and implementations from suppliers. How do I know what images aren't there? How do I know what products my reps are seeing in their system? So now with Reach 2.0, the suppliers that are associated with an agency's Reach site have a browse-only feature so that they can actually go and kind of QC their images and their products as they've been uploaded. I want to show you what that looks like. Before I jump out though, Todd, did I miss anything?
No, I think that was great.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to log out of my passport here because right now I'm a retailer, right? I was shopping. So I'm going to log out and I'm actually going to log into a supplier passport. And my supplier is called, I don't know why I always laugh about it, but the company is called 2 Chicks and a Bag. When I sign into my passport though, you'll see the name Liz Rose in the upper right. That's my supplier, that's my personal passport. If I highlight my cursor over my name here and choose 2 Chicks and a Bag, you can see I've got my agency connections here. So 2 Chicks in a Bag, the supplier, is linked to these 3 agencies. If there's a little shop link here, that means we've got a Reach 2.0 site that we can click on and we can actually go see what our products look like. It's going to tell me here, you're in browse mode, so I'm unable to add anything to the cart. I can only see my line. So some of you may have been like, ah! If you're a supplier that has this browse only, you only see your line. I'm not going to see any other lines. And I've got this lifestyle image, which we'll talk about here in a moment too, in terms of how that's managed. So I can click on this lifestyle image or on the brand, just like I showed you earlier. Eek, I haven't done a very good job as a supplier, right? So I can see my products that I've uploaded. I can see the name of the product, the SKU, the price, and the minimum. But I can see that I haven't uploaded my images. So I've got to get in there and do that. And with my passport, it's all single sign-on. I can go right to content management from here and start uploading my images so that those get up there right away. So that's one of my favorite features that suppliers are really loving right now too, is the ability to see exactly what your reps and your retailers are going to see on Reach 2.0. All right,
Yeah.
that is everything for me.
That's awesome. Thanks, Iris. And that is one of the biggest things that people over the years have said is the suppliers can upload their images very easily, but they can't see what they look like. So now instead of having to create retailers on your site or anything to go see it, they can just log into your site since they're a brand already connected to you and see everything they need to see. So that was awesome. Thank you very much, Iris. All right, let me reshare my screen here. And all right, moving right along. Maybe. Okay. All right, so current roadmap. So I think that Lisa and I are relatively in sync on the current roadmap, but we'll kind of go through what we have. So one thing that you notice, what Iris just demonstrated, as she mentioned, was the current state of reach. So these are the pieces that we have out there now. And what we're showing you here are some of the things that are just getting ready, that are in development now in the roadmap. So one of them was to put it no image. So if you remember on Iris's, when there were no images, it was just blank. We'll at least have something that demonstrates there should be an image here. So this is coming out shortly. It will show up on the lifestyle image or the product. Localizing text. And you'll notice I have nothing there because I was trying to figure out how to try to explain it the best. But a lot of you guys, when we've gone through Reach, have had commentary like whether it's Reach or it's Transit or Passport about the text on the screen. So one of them that we got feedback on was like when no products are found, being able to have, instead of saying no products found, when you go into a supplier that hasn't uploaded, to say, you know, new and exciting product coming soon and these types of things. Or many of you may have noticed, or if you were on the webinar we did on Friday, going over this type of stuff, that we changed the transit text and added buttons and things like that to make it more apparent for what the suppliers should do with their best practice for a product file. That level of localization is all stuff that the four of us that you're seeing on screen can do. We don't need developers to do it. It's in a part of our tool set now where we can go in and create the different text, the different sizes, the buttons, all of that stuff without a developer having to do it. So we can be very reactive to that, which is really cool. What we're doing is we're taking advantage of a localization text for English that lets us change all of that. That localizing or localization text will also give us the ability over time, if somebody so desires to say, I want my site to be in French or I need it to be in Spanish, that we'll be able to have somebody translate all the English localization to Spanish or to French. And then based on the localization of the person looking at the site, it'll change the language. So that's what the localizing text does, and it was kind of hard to demonstrate it. But the way we're using it now is when you guys look at screens and go, I wish it could say this or it was more descriptive, you can go on the insiders and give us feedback, and then it's easy for us to get feedback and make those changes. So that's what that piece is. Okay, product details with Zoom. So this is one of the cool things that we are getting ready to come out with. So one of the things that Iris is showing you this site is now, so there's not a product detail. When you click on the image, it doesn't do anything. On our development side, it does, which is the product detail, which gives you much more information, the long description, the wholesale pricing, all the different information specific to that product like you get now, but a nice big image and the hover over zoom. So this hover over zoom, this image that you see on the left, as you guys know, our images are 500 by 500 DPI. That's the size of this. And the zoom itself, where you can see it zooms in, is also constrained by the 500 by 500. So one of the things we're going to be doing down the road, I said, not tomorrow, down the road, is we're going to be allowing you to upload a larger image, like a 1000 by 1000 image. So when you zoom in, you'll get an even bigger picture. So we're going to be working on some of that. But for now, the retailers will get a really nice zoom level. So that's what that piece is. Supplier Editor. So we are just on the cusp of getting this out. This is in this current iteration that we'll release, and I'll let Lisa talk about release dates on when this next one's coming. But this allows, we came out with a retailer editor in the last release, I believe, where the retailers could go in and update their name and their address information and all that kind of stuff, where before it was just sort of locked in. Well, now with the Supplier Editor, the supplier can go in and update their name, and we'll start using that name throughout Reach and ultimately Play. Because as you guys all know, we have a name for a supplier that maybe was the name of the supplier when they started with us 20 years ago, and they sold to somebody, they changed it, and it's still that name. So we want them to be able to control that, all their address information, contact information, and then this information on the right side. Right now, the lifestyle image is still controlled by us, and that's that picture that Iris was showing that's on the landing page. But this about the brand piece is what will show next to that on that screen. So the suppliers will be able to put that in, and then in another release, we'll take that information, we'll be able to put it in about the brand here. So you have the lifestyle image, and then you'll have the information about the brand. So that's what that is what we were talking about with that kind of stuff. So that will look really nice there, and that'll give the retailer that information based on what the supplier says about their brand. All right, categories. So categories is coming soon on our roadmap. I'm gonna think about everything I say now because Lisa's got. She said she had a voodoo doll or something where she's gonna stick me with it.
Whenever he says coming soon.
Yeah, so transit, which is where the suppliers upload data, the first part will be getting, which is what you see here, the ability for the suppliers to upload categories through their transit file. Those categories will flow right into Reach, and then ultimately that file will get exported and it'll be available for play. But the first piece of this is getting those categories into Reach. So this is level 1, is getting it so the supplier can actually upload it. Then the next pieces of development are to get it into Reach so that it can get displayed from within there. So what you'll have is brands, and underneath brands you'll have categories. So that's how that piece will get loaded. And then what it will look like once this gets built is twofold. So you have a brand, then you have your categories underneath that particular brand, which is what we have here, and then breadcrumbs will appear. So we're building that in as well. So brands, if I click that, takes me back to my home screen. If I was in hanging lighting and I wanted to go back to just lighting, I can just click back to lighting or Baumgartner, just like you can if you're familiar with any other site, but also play. When you're in presentation mode and you drill into categories, you can come back out by clicking on the breadcrumb. So these are both a result of what will ultimately come from categories in transit to translate into the Reach site. And then activity tracking for marketing automation, which Callie's going to go into quite a bit, a few slides down the road, but we're going to give you 2 different ways that we've already started implementing marketing and what's going to be coming in the future. So the reason this is on the current roadmap is we're already doing work to get all the activities logged, and we'll go into the specifics of that, but it's when somebody's doing something on the sites, we're logging all that information that's already taking place. How you guys will look at it and how you build campaigns is what Callie's going to go into. All right. So coming next, and Lisa, I'll have you walk us through the coming next stuff if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem. And just to go over what Todd kind of mentioned, just the way I broke these out, just to define the difference between what's current and what's coming next is we do 3-week iterations here. So we break our work down by 3 weeks, and we try to release around that time frame so that you can get things quickly. So it's iterative. So it's a small increments, and then we keep improving upon that. So the stuff that he showed just that he was just showing, some of that's actually already done. It just hasn't been released yet, but it's already developed. Some of it is in development, and then some of it is stuff that we're designing out that we have the plans for that to be in the next iteration. So the current is something we're either working on design or it's actually developed. So that would be coming within this next month, I would say, from that perspective, for those things that he just showed. The stuff that we have here on the coming next section, the first thing I want to point out is there's a lot here. I think we have a couple slides of this, as you all know, and it's great because we want all your feedback. We have a lot of different things that we want to do. We want to keep innovating on Reach to make it a superb system. I think it already is, but we're going to make it even better. And so this is not in any specific order. Some of this stuff are a little farther along in the design process than others. Some of these things that Todd had mentioned, sometimes we're doing even some of the back end work ahead of time because there's some infrastructure that has to be done for it. So don't be alarmed by where you see these things in an order. One of the things we do is we regularly prioritize. It's kind of part of our agile software development process, and we reprioritize. So it's what allows us to be agile, allows us to change if we need to. So if things change and we decide from all the stakeholders, which is everyone on this call, not only from Brandwise, but all of you as well, and all the feedback that you give us, trust me, we get all that, we review it, and we will prioritize things as needed. So don't worry about that. So one of the first things here that we're showing on this one, and some of these are just wireframes at this point, like this one, for example, is just an idea. So what we're showing you here is how we work our process. We have a user experience designer that helps us lay these things out, and then we decide on them, and as we code them, we sometimes will tweak them. So this may not be what these finished products look like. Just want to let you know that as well. One of the things that you've asked for is the ability to control which suppliers show up on a reach site, maybe because they don't have images yet, or from some other reason you don't want them to show on the list yet. So we're going to start with a new part of the application where we're going to have administration type of settings. One of the first ones we're going to do, and these settings will be by product type. So this one is for reach, where an agency can go in and specify, if you see in this example here, your whole list of suppliers, and show a little on or off to say which ones are activated at this time. And you'll have the free ability to change that over time. So that's one of the first things that we're looking at.
Yeah, and I just want to make a mention for the suppliers on the call that as soon as you get to the point where you have play or reach, in our world, even though you're a supplier, you're an agency. So if you were a supplier and you had 2 or 3 different brands and one of them you weren't ready to put on or was coming soon, you'd also have this capability. So don't want you to think we're just speaking to the agencies, but in our kind of nomenclature, if you have any of those tools, you're an agency.
Correct. Good point, Todd. This is something else. This is another reason that we had Iris kind of run through the examples of what's currently in production so that you can get a good idea of some of the other things that we're going to change. She was showing you where we had the ability with the text to see where you had met your minimum or not. We want to make that even simpler and easier for you. So we're going to add a little more detail to let you know specifically how many dollars, for example, that you are going to be below minimum that you still need to reach that. So we're going to improve that experience a little bit. One of the things Iris also showed was when she went in as the supplier in the browse mode, you're only going to see the one list, as she mentioned. If there's, and also as Todd just kind of gave the example, if you're the supplier that's acting as an agency, but you only have your one brand, there's really no need to have that lifestyle image page. So we're going to have the ability for that to be skipped so that you can just go directly to the gallery. Another situation is where you may have a long list on an agency site or on any site where you have a long list of brands that are on that left-hand pane that Iris was showing that you could kind of expand and collapse. We could get into the hundreds, and it may be difficult for you to have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Well, right now we don't even have scroll. You'd have to page down to the bottom. So we're going to add a scroll on that area, and then we're also going to add, similar to what you've seen on your mobile phones on any kind of a contacts that you have, Google Contacts is a good example, is the ability to jump to a specific letter, an index, which is what we call it. So if you want to just quickly jump to the supplier or brand names that start with J or T, which is farther down, you'll be able to do that as well. Search suggestions. There's actually a lot of different stuff we've done with search, and we're continuing to improve search. First of all, we implemented search, then we implemented what we called fuzzy searching, which is to search on words and typos that are similar for what that is. One of the other things we're going to do with search is we're going to do search suggestions. So as you start typing, for example, we were actually just talking about that this morning, if you were searching for water bottles, as soon as you typed WA, they'll pop up a list of anything that's in the gallery that started with WA or had WA somewhere in there. It'll show you that there's some suggestions for you. So you don't have to worry about trying to find the right terminology. We're going to give you the suggestions that we think you might be looking for. Synonyms is another thing. This kind of happens in areas where we have a lot of products out there that we've seen for dogs or puppies or canines, animals, whatever that may be. So synonyms is something else. There'll be like a library of synonyms that we're going to pull in that'll allow us to pull back searching and expand your searching based on that as well. Todd kind of talked a little bit about the brand description that we're going to be able to have for you to talk about your brand, and also in your supplier name. Right now, when you search through, you're just searching on products and product names, but we're going to also be able to include, if you just know the specific name of a supplier you're trying to jump to, that you'll be able to search for that, and then you'll also be able to search on text that's within that brand description and return results for those suppliers. Todd kind of touched on this as well. We have the Supplier Editor. Right now, though, we control that ability to deal with the lifestyle image. We're going to allow you to have the full control. We want to make this as easy for everyone to use and be able to not have to wait on us. So you'll be able to modify or upload or change your lifestyle image as you choose.
Yeah, and that's on the supplier when that's uploaded and changed. That'll reflect across any reach sites, your own or any agencies that have that lifestyle image. So if you want to change it seasonally or whatever, you'll have the control to do
Yep,
that.
and you only have to do it once. That's a good point, in that one place.
Yep.
Similar to there, the other place where we use a logo is for the agencies. You all have your logo that shows on your agency site. Right now, we kind of have that in a different location where it's not easily editable. Once we create, as Todd had mentioned, we did a retailer editor, we did a passport editor. We are almost done with the supplier editor, and we will be doing an agency editor as well. And in the agency editor, similar to where you have your lifestyle image where we showed for the supplier, instead you would actually have a logo image, and your ability to also control that and change that as you see fit. And then that would change how it shows on the Reach site too. When we talked about product details, which is something Todd just showed quickly, that zoom action, there's a lot of other fields that are on product details. One of the things that we did not have the backend code ready yet for, but we didn't want to wait, which is part of our iterative process. So we're going to release product details without quantity on hand, but we actually are just working on this right now too, is that we will be able to shortly be able to bring the quantity on hand information into product details as well.
Yeah, and just to mention, quantity on hand is enforced by Reach 2.0. So if you have the setting that you can't sell with quantity on hand on web, it won't allow you to sell it if it's out. It's just not, it's not displaying what your quantity on hand is yet, but it does enforce it. So a little bit about
yes, just doesn't display it. Good point.
Yep.
Iris also showed the order history, which is awesome to give you all the information, but we also know that you may want to take action from seeing something on an order history. You may have a same order that you want to just completely reorder from, or reorder certain items from there as well. So that's a feature that we're going to be adding. I mentioned all these things on the search. Like I said, there's a lot of things we can do in search, and all these different things that we're going to do on searching could be bringing back a lot more products. So what we want to do is give you the ability to control the sort order and how the weight and action is on your searching. So right now, it's kind of returns the order, I think, mostly in alphabetical or types of ways, but we've heard requirements that people might want to have a different way to default when you first come into your gallery as to how your products are ordered. And then also you as a retailer may say, well, I would like to sort mine by a different order. So we're going to look at all these various different ways to, once you do a search or once you just even come into a gallery with no search, to reorder the products that you have.
Correct.
The other one is Todd talked about categories, which is going to be highly configurable, by the way. So with our categories, we're going to allow up to 4 levels deep as far as categories, and you can put a product into as many categories as you want, and you can create as many categories as you want. So you as a supplier will have a highly configurable ability to do that. But agencies may want to also group their brands into specific, what we call groupings, which is the term we're going to use for now, and this may change because we haven't really designed all this out. But this is something else that I mentioned, that Reach site setting editor that we're looking at doing, where you can set up that activating suppliers. This would be another place where, acting as an agency, you could come in and decide how you want to group the brands and how they're listed. And once again, a brand could be under multiple groups as well.
Yep.
Catalogs, Todd, you can talk about catalogs more than I can probably.
Yeah. So actually, the digital catalogs is probably a good example of the prioritization shift that Lisa was talking about. So we have digital flipbook catalogs in existing Reach and Play and all that stuff. It's not currently in the new Reach 2.0. But as we've been looking at things, we've got categories and we've got these different things, and we've got the catalogs. Catalogs was actually ahead of categories for a while, but categories there was a lot more clamor about we need to be able to click on categories more so than digital catalogs. So the catalogs we planned it out. It's one of those things, to Lisa's point, we had it all planned out. We're going to use the existing technology, but we hadn't started the development 2.0, so we moved it out a little bit. So that's we've got that on the roadmap and when that's going to get done, but that's kind of what that is. But that's a good example of kind of, pivoting away from what we may have thought was the most important priority to what you guys all thought was the most important, and categories took precedent over that one.
Yep.
So that's what the catalog piece is.
Product options is something else that people have mentioned, and one of the first ones that we're going to tackle there is what we call the apparel or sizing type of options. So anything that just comes with one specific type of sizing. Yep.
And that's colors and sizing like you guys are used to. If you're using that now, it's a grid.
Right, and these ones also have, as Todd kind of talked about with categories, they have multiple components. All these next few ones actually fall into this category, where we have to build it into Transit so that you can get that information in, and then we have to build how it's going to show in Reach as well. Price list is the next one as well. So there's the ability to not only have to load those price lists and manage those in there, and then the logic to take into taking what's in those price lists information into hand when it does the calculations.
Yep.
Wish list is something else that, you know, most sites have this ability. We have a couple different terms here. We may not call it this. We have save for later, wish lists, things like that, right? So you can create your own different types of lists. We have a lot of different ideas here, but this is something that will definitely favorites. You could maybe even be able to favorite specific brands, just any of that type of thing where you can kind of bookmark stuff.
I apologize in advance for the trash trucks that are 3.5 hours late that are just coming down my street right now, if you hear that.
Yeah. Attributes, very similar to categories. These will be a lot of those various things. This will be definitely something that we can iterate on too. We'll to decide which are the attributes that are most specific that people want to deal with first, similar to what I mentioned with options, and then we'll start with those and then we'll roll the rest of those out. The ability to be able to filter then down your product search based on those attributes.
Yep.
Messages and alerts is really to do with all these connection things that go on in your dashboard that you see in Passport. We know not everyone always checks emails, so we want everything to be online and at your fingertips. So we're looking to put into Passport to be able to have all these alerts that you have a new notification, that you as an agency have a new retailer maybe that you need to approve. Also messages that we just may want to get out to you that the system may be going down for some maintenance, whatever it may be. So we want it to not have to worry and function on email alone. So we will still have the emails that'll come out of there, but we're going to let everything be at your fingertips in your Passport dashboard. A transit dashboard is something else that we want to do. You upload product files. You should know a full history of what you've done, what errors came out of those product files, what's changed from one product file upload to the next, and so that an agency can have that information as well. So we're looking to build a whole dashboard around all the activity that's done within product file uploads in transit.
Yeah, and that'll probably be dashboards and communication. The agencies have been asking for that ever since we released transit to know, okay, what changed in this file? So that's what that relates to.
Correct. Multiple product images. We just showed how it's going to be great to be able to zoom on the product image on a product detail, but you may want to give us 5 images or maybe even 10. And then you could pick the order that you want those images to show in the gallery. So we'll be working on that as well. And roles and permissions is something else that will help us kind of get with some of this next stuff that we're talking about with the marketing, but this is to allow you right now, everyone's kind of set up as an admin, even though you have team members within your tool, but for the approving of connections and things like this will allow us to get down to have more granular security controls so that you can say only this person within my agency is allowed, for example, to approve connection requests. Promotions, this is another thing that we can iterate on. It could be as simple as just starting off with a field to enter your promotion in, and you can handle the dealing of the calculation of that promotion on your own at the supplier level. The other thing is to add all the various promotion functionality into the product too. So this is something that we will definitely iterate on.
Okay.
And then the last one I think is, yeah, you're good. Marketing requirements. Yep.
All right, so then we're going to jump into marketing. So thanks, Lisa. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then the other thing to note is this is not an exhaustive list. We just kind of picked the top highlight ones that people ask about a lot. There's a lot of things that are a lot more that's being done right now, but they're just smaller or shorter increments of work, so we didn't list them out here.
Yeah, and then keep in mind the way these are ordered doesn't reflect the priority. Correct. We just threw them down on a piece of paper, and obviously they're not alphabetical.
Correct.
All right, thanks, Lisa.
Todd. Mm-hmm.
Callie. So I'll kind of hit on this first page and where this came from, and then it's all you after that. So we went through with a few of our companies on what the kind of requirements were for the basic marketing. So there's sort of 2 levels. There's a tracking of retailer activities and web analytics that include things like suppliers at a retailer visit. So if you think about Iris's demo, the retailer comes in, clicks on 3 or 4 lifestyle images. We want to be able to say back to you, they clicked on this particular supplier, they clicked on that supplier. And then what were the top suppliers viewed? So that you have that type of information, very important. Products clicked on but not added to cart. So, you know, and some of these are going to be interesting to see the level of importance. So I click on it, didn't add it to cart. Now, if I do that all the time, you guys may determine that, okay, well, it's really not all that critical to know they clicked on it, didn't add it, but maybe it is. So it's that type of granularity. And then products added to a cart and removed from a cart, which is probably more so raises a question for the rep or whoever to say, okay, you added all these and then you took those all away, but those are like really good products. Why did you do that? So it gives you that insight that you're looking for from that. And then products purchased. So what have they bought? and then what are the top products purchased, so that you start to be able to get that information. And then that sort of probably goes towards what Lisa was talking about. You know, do you bring those top products up, or do you have different ways that we move that stuff around or sort that, or are we automatically sorting it based on criteria that says, you know, do I move my top products to the top? Do I move them down a row, so that, you know, how do I do that? So that's all the tracking of those activities. And then of course an abandoned cart. So the definition of abandoned cart, which the way that Kentico handles this is that these are algorithms that we can set up. So it could just be that the stuff's been sitting in a cart for X period of time, and that's where you want a notification to go out, or they actually went in and removed the cart. So there's a couple different ways that we can look at that. And then marketing automation, which is, okay, I've got all this information, now what? Now I want to do something with it. So that's going to be contact management and promotions, segmenting out and you know, rules, drilling down by persona, by geography, all that, and then using the system to get promotions and information out that start to get the retailer activities back, so you can start tracking, how did my promotions do, how did this do, how did that do. Targeted marketing to retailers based on all of the elements above, as we mentioned, including criteria like abandoned cart emailing. So, you know, Janetta goes on, puts 5 things in a cart, 3 minutes later she gets an email that says, why haven't you checked out yet? So, you know, getting all that kind of stuff in so that you're continually having the site communicate with your retailers, and also letting you guys know what's happening with that type of stuff, or people going in and doing that. All the stuff that you would want and expect from general marketing. And then customized content. So we won't go into a lot of detail here, but as we get our arms around this, we'll have more and more sessions specific to marketing. But we'll end up building a bunch of workflows in Kentico where you guys will have the ability to put in attributes. So you may say, I want to put this into my email, and I want it to happen every 4 hours, and I want it to be based on this, and I want it to be based on that. And then the algorithms behind the scenes will build that out, and that would be specific by each of you based on your admin role, based on those roles and permissions that Lisa was talking about within Kentico. All right. So on the Google Analytics piece, and Callie, I'll go through these. You want to just jump in and kind of hit the high level on these, or?
Well, before we go through this any further, I actually wanted to jump in prior. Last year, one of the biggest things that we had coming out of it for the Evolve conference was when we started talking about the marketing requirements specifically. I know that a lot of you have been super excited about this, and that was one of the decisions in terms of why Reach 2.0 got built on this platform to begin with, was that you will have this in all these in-depth capabilities. And to just kind of speak specifically to it, I know like those email campaigns, all of this type of stuff and that functionality that we've spoken of are all going to be different features that are going to be available within Kentico. Some of the rules and the processes and everything around it are going to change a little bit depending on how exactly you want to use it. But what we're actually going to be doing with it first, and why it's going to take a little bit longer to get into your hands, is our development team is putting this all in place for us right now, so that I personally at Brandwise and we internally can start actually utilizing these products, better understanding and getting our arms around how they work, like Todd was mentioning, and then host all these sessions and everything with you to make sure that this is meeting all the requirements and everything that you want. So we've already been able to get a lot of really good insights so far from Just Gotta Have It. So thank you so much for providing all of these types of materials and everything for us with those individual conversations. Some of the other things to maybe just start thinking about now while you're in the process and right before we get into this Google Analytics is, if you aren't already utilizing another piece of software like Google Analytics, I highly recommend that you do. You're obviously going to have everything down to the micro level here within Kentico, so you'll be able to see everything about what exactly that retailer is doing, how your customers are behaving on the site, and so forth. But the Google Analytics is going to give you that macro level view to really be able to see everything surrounding your business. So if you're not already set up with this, this is obviously something you can start doing now and kind of use both in tandem like we're going to be doing. So Todd, if you want to kind of run through some of these too, and I can step in as well.
Yep, okay. So to that point, these will both be built in. So you'll have Google Analytics. And again, as Callie mentioned, that's the high level. So that's going to give you total retailers visiting your site, for instance, by date range and a whole bunch of different things. If you've ever used it, it's pretty flexible, but it doesn't tell you who. It doesn't say it was Iris or it was Lisa or it was Callie. It just says this many visitors or retailers visited your site during a period of time. How many retailers are active on your site? So when I happened to take the screenshot, we had 5. So if you are you know, you can sit there and have that screen up and see how many people are on your site all the time and get excited about it, because it's pretty exciting. but that's one of the things you can do. It just shows you the number of people. The traffic source will show you how retailers ended up on your site. So what that will say is they came from here. That's going to come in handy when you do marketing and you're sending something out or you're directing to a page or you want it to come from social media. It's going to say they came from your Facebook page, or they came from this email address, or they came from this website, or they came from this page on your website. So that traffic source is going to give you that type of information at a high level.
Well, and to speak to that a little bit more in terms of the traffic source, that is also another capability that is within Kentico and the marketing pieces. So I know like a lot of you have made the shift to utilizing social media and stuff more and more. So you can actually set up all these parameters and everything too. So if you have specific campaigns that you're running on Facebook or Twitter or so forth, you'd actually be able to see exactly which one maybe was the most successful for you, so you know exactly where you should be spending more of that energy. And if you guys haven't already watched that video on the marketing capabilities that Crystal Media hosted for us a few weeks back, highly recommend that you check out that webinar, because it'll help you to really understand why you need to use all these resources that are in front of you to really make your Reach 2.0 site, and really virtually any Reach site, a true success.
Cool. Awesome. And then, of course, where in the world are your retailers visiting from? So it'll give you the geography of where the people are coming in from. So, you know, around anywhere that they happen to hit your site, you're going to see that. Again, high level, macro, you don't know who they are, but you know where they are at this point. And then what time of day you get the most traffic, which is also interesting. You know, do people really shop in the middle of the night, or are they shopping during the day? I think what we're finding out now, I think before the pandemic, it was a lot more after hours, and now I think it's all the time. People are going to be shopping all the time throughout the day, but it's interesting that you can see that. And then what type of devices they're using, which this is more, I think this is more interesting to us, because it sort of tells us, you know, how many people are using laptops or PCs versus iPads or mobile versus this type of stuff. Because if we start to see, you know, as we're looking at your sites, and even you guys would say, you know what, 99.9% of my retailers are using mobile phones. Maybe we should, you know, there's a few things that we need to do there, or they're all using big screens or whatever. It's interesting information to know. So you can see that type of stuff there.
Well, and to that point as well too, I think what makes it super interesting is actually going to be your email campaign specifically. So a lot of times you guys have been asking for a lot of assistance in terms of what is the most effective way to get retailers to sign up for Passport so we can get them on to start shopping on our site and everything. But we are seeing that switch to mobile so much more, where you might go back and access that email later from your computer, but in a lot of cases, you're immediately opening it directly from your phone. So really understanding and building your campaigns around a way that it is going to be mobile friendly for when they go to view it.
Yep, perfect. What are the top pages visited by your retailer? So again, you know, some of this, and we're speaking to this whether you have this on your existing site, marketing site, or you put your marketing site into Brandwise, or it just happens to be within the Reach stuff. You know, where are they visiting the most? What pages are they setting on the longest? And then retailer retention. So this will show, you know, how frequently they're coming back to the site and visiting it. So you can determine, you know, are they one and done, are they frequent? And there's going to be ways to see that, which we're going to show you also within Kentico. But that's another really important piece. How long are you keeping them? Are they attentive? Are they spending a lot of time on the site? I think is a very important piece, without just knowing that they placed an order. But what else are they doing there? All right, so Kentico activity tracking, where we start to get more exciting, right? So this is the lower level. So that was macro. This is micro. This is going to be contact and activity tracking based on their Passport. So now we know who they are, right? And Callie, just as you've done, just interrupt me. I'll slow down as we get into these things. So the idea here is that whether you're going to the site, which we're going to show you what that looks like, or whether you're creating, or whether you're being alerted via an email, or to Lisa's point, within your Passport, it may say these activities are happening. We can kind of do all of that type of stuff. But it's a matter of what type of alerts, what type of campaigns, things, both ways. What do you want to know, and what do you want your retailers to know? So one of the things you want to know is retailers that log into your Reach site. And even before that, one of the things that I know you guys are getting people signed up on Passports, and you know they signed up on their Passport when you get an email that they've been approved, that they're requesting to approve on your site. But being able to also do marketing based on that. So we see, okay, they created a Passport and they connected to my site. That's awesome. Did they log in? That's the next piece. Okay, they logged in. If they didn't log in, but they created a Passport and they connected, that's the type of data that you can get, which is really actionable. So again, as we go through what we kind of talked about on that previous slide before we went through Google is, okay, retailers added a product to a cart. So it's also a matter of tracking that retailer, clicking on a web page if you're using Kentico for your marketing page. So we can do both. We have reach, and you also have the ability to put your marketing site in. So then you have end-to-end marketing in one place. You don't have to look at your marketing site in let's say HubSpot like we're doing or something else. It can all be within Kentico, and you can use Google Analytics and Kentico to get your end-to-end stuff. So you can track promotion performance that way. So the point that Callie was making, let's say they go to their mobile phone to look at a promotion. Now you can see, okay, they went to their mobile phone, they went to our website, they logged in and they bought this product. So now you said, okay, this is great. We've got conversion of that particular promotion. Retailers are moving on it. Yeah, go ahead.
Specifically in terms of actually utilizing the Kentico site to host it. So just a little bit more details in terms of why choosing the correct link is so important in the beginning. You're going to have 3 different sites if you were to use all these marketing capabilities that we're talking about today. So you would have your admin site where you can go in and you can see a lot of these settings, just like we do for the back end of the brandwise.com site. You would have the actual shop site where your reach site is going to be hosted, and then you'd have your marketing page where you'd have agency name or supplier name.bwweb.net. So those are all just important things to keep in mind in terms of making sure that you are choosing one that's going to be kind of easy for you and your team to be able to remember and dig in as you need to.
All right, and then like we mentioned, retailers that are removing items from cart. These are all activities, and we're going to show you that we can track within the system, and then you can do whatever you want to do with those. Retailers who have deleted their cart. Retailers who have submitted their cart or submitted the order. So where Iris is going to click on the submit button, once that's submitted, that's an activity that we can log to say, yep, they submitted an order for this brand. And then retailers, for instance, who have accessed their order history. So anything that's happening within the site, they go to their order history, they click on their passport, did they click on this brand, did they do this, did they do nothing, did they search, what kind of products did they search for, are all activities, and all of those activities can ultimately be logged. And most of them are logging now. And then another cool thing is how long is a retailer, so this goes to that same thing on Google Analytics about retention. This will show us what they're, how long have they been, what Kentico calls on the journey. So how long have they been with us on this journey of reach or passport? And then what was the last time they accessed the site? And then there's information you can get. So if there's forms out there they're filling out or information that you want to capture, and we're using that now, all of that stuff's listed against that specific person. And again, the activity date for the retailers, what their last activity date was, and I'll show you a little bit about that, what that looks like. And then when we say much more to come, which is that coming next type of stuff, if you look through the activities, there's a zillion activities, but we also have the ability for custom activities and custom workflows. So, based on these activities, do this, do that, do the other, that can all be built out. So those are things that we can build some infrastructure and then again, give you guys parameters. But to show you a little bit of what it looks like. So this is the Kentico admin screen that you guys would have for your particular site. This is our brandwise.com. And this is just an activity log for Eastern Sales Agency, which is our demo reach site. And right now you can see that I've got Randy and I've got a Todd Litzman retailer. That would list all your retailers at the high level activity. Then you can dig into that activity and you can go look at a profile for that specific person. So we now know, because they've logged in, now we know who you are. So this is Randy, what his email address is. Any of this information that we want to collect or you're collecting, you can set scoring up, you can dictate personas. You can see that journey length, right? So he started his journey on the 15th. And his last activity was on the same date. But you'll start to see that these people have been on the site for 6 months, 12 months, and their last activity was Wednesday, or their last activity was months ago, and you can start using that then for marketing capabilities and marketing activities. Newsletter subscriptions, contact groups, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea before you switch screens on that.
Okay.
So this is all under that contact management screen. So what Todd initially searched when he was looking for this was going to be Randy. He was looking specifically for this person. And then in terms of all the different personas and everything that you can assign to them and the scoring, that's all going to kind of be based on all those activities and the tracking and everything that Todd mentioned before in terms of if they've maybe, like for us specifically, if they filled out a form or something on the site, then they're going to get this score. And if they've signed on and then they've logged into a passport or they've created a passport, they're going to get another score. So it just gives you a better idea of exactly what kind of value and everything you're putting toward that person. Is this somebody that is kind of like a colder lead for you that maybe you need to follow up on with more frequently? Is this going to be somebody that's a little bit warmer and doesn't necessarily need as much attention? So it'll kind of just measure a lot of that success and everything for you. I think this is a lot of the capabilities that you guys have been asking specifically for in terms of how reps can work better with customers, everything directly. A lot of these capabilities are going to be able to help you so much with that aspect alone.
Yeah, awesome. And then the final bit is looking at the actual activities, right? So again, this is for going to the activities for that in content management for Randy Quaid, right? So we're still in the same spot. We're in profile. Now we're in the activities, and you can start to see cart deleted, product added, user logged in, all of this type of information, product removed from cart. These are all of the activities that we're logging right now, and we'll just continue to do them as we build more out. And then this is all information that you can use for analytics, for marketing, for campaigns, for all that type of stuff, all built into that particular, into the Kentico system inherently. So pretty cool stuff. All right.
So in general, I love getting a lot of your guys' feedback and everything. By becoming a Brandwise Insider, obviously we'll be able to get even more. If you have more ideas about things that you specifically want to see in terms of different enhancements that maybe you want to see to reach 2.0 or different marketing capabilities that you want to take advantage of right away, if you reach out to feedback@brandwise.com, that's going to hit not only myself, but the entire 2.0 team so that we can just kind of see exactly what this is. Obviously, all the engagement that you guys have had today, we've seen quite a few questions come through so far. We'll be able to kind of track and measure a lot of that too. So thank you guys so much for attending. You can become a Brandwise Insider by searching Brandwise Insiders on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, text Insiders to 33777. That will opt you into the text and email updates. And then Todd and Lisa, I don't know if you guys have any other closing notes.
I just wanted to mention, to reiterate what Callie said, is we do want your feedback. We look at every single thing that comes in. It's all part of our prioritization process. The more things that are requested by multiple people obviously can make a difference on where that lands on the roadmap. So we can't do it, and if we don't know you want it. So we definitely want your feedback. So bring it on.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, and if you think about it, if you're watching the insiders from the outside and looking at the feedback, if we get 5 or 6 people continuously giving us feedback, that's the 5 or 6 people we're going to take the feedback from. So if you want to be part of the mechanism, just chime in and give us that information. That's a great platform for that. Awesome. All right. Well, Iris, anything last minute? Are you good?
I'm good. I got the dogs napping in the back, so hopefully everyone else is still awake.
That was exciting. I hope everybody's awake.
That was really exciting. Thank you all for being here. And look out for the recording. Please share it with anyone else that has not received it. And then Callie, we've got another session tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow you're going to get to learn all about what this platform has truly set us up for. So that big announcement is something you are not going to want to miss. That's going to be tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. I apologize in advance. I don't know what GoToWebinar is doing to us, but you guys seem to be getting everything in GMT time. Lisa knows exactly what that is. I have no idea what it is, but it is tomorrow at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. So we hope to see you all there for that big announcement.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for taking some time today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Great job.